There we go. All right. I like your wall.
Thank you. Yeah, we have some good things there. We have Frankenstein drinking a cup of coffee, a couple Hitchcock, the birds, of course, coffee, female trouble.
Nice.
What else? A couple of mine, faster pussycat kill, kill, kill. That's awesome.
You can't really see most of my walls from where you are, but
I do see a figurine, a horror-looking figurine behind you. Ooh, wow.
that's Ed,
Holy,
Dolores, and Bella. And
holy shit.
Dolores wrote a message to the original recipient down here in the corner. It says, To Raya, warm Angora wishes, Dolores Fuller.
That is unbelievable.
Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
Yeah, I'm doing a cruise in January with oh gosh, I'm trying to remember who else is going to be on it, but the big one is Alex Kingston.
Who's
And
Alex Kingston?
Alex Kingston was on ER. She was River Song in Doctor Who. She was Moll Flanders.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure.
I can't wait to have her hanging on my wall as well.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Love that.
Let's see if I can get Bella to go back. There we go. I guess my first question for you is, are you doing this thing on Halloween all the way down here on the Cape that Jen is putting on?
The at the Waldo, you mean?
No, the big Halloween party they're doing down here on the Cape. She was
Oh
going to invite
no.
you guys.
No, actually, I'm gonna be in New York City for Halloween. So, but I am doing some Rocky Horror type events and things. But Halloween proper, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to London for my documentary, and then I'll still be jet lagged by the time Halloween kind of comes back. And so, because the screening there is the 29th of October, and so yeah, I am doing some like a couple of movie screenings like mid-October, but nothing Halloween proper, which is my favorite day of the year. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I will be here playing this interview we're about to do.
On Halloween? Oh, that
Yeah,
is awesome. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can break this up into segments and it can be like you're sort of co-hosting and hanging out throughout Halloween night.
Oh, I love that very much. So, well, happy Halloween, everybody.
Oh,
But
awesome.
it's the only holiday that matters, let's be serious. So, you know that Halloween on that date, it's an old pagan holiday, and it's supposed to
Mhm.
be when the veil is the thinnest between life and death.
That's right.
Yep.
It's depending on who you talk to and how you pronounce it, but Samhain works for me. Some people
Uh-huh.
say Samhain. But it's my favorite day of the year. We love it, in fact, so much that on Valentine's Day we celebrate second Halloween instead of Valentine's Day here.
And do you give actual live hearts to each other?
Yeah, well, that would be fun. We may have to try that. Our
Yeah,
horror host, who happens also to be my wife, Eve St. George, would definitely dig that.
that is awesome. Yeah, you have to have like a beating heart that you
Yeah.
can hand to each other. Exactly. I should probably promo myself so you can use it, if you
Actually,
want.
yeah, that's usually what I do is about halfway through the interview, I remember to say, my guest this evening.
I know, I always forget that too. So well, I'll follow your lead. Whatever you want to do is fine.
Uh, my guest this evening is Lola Rocknroller, film director and writer. And gosh, where do we start with Dragzilla, Yoga Zombies, Big Johnson? Um, she has a list of credits that's super interesting. So tell us all about it.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Lola Rocknrolla. I started as in bands, obviously by the the name. I played saxophone and guitar and sang and opened. My bands you probably didn't know so much about. My last band in New York was called Sweet Tits. Look it up, but look up Sweet Tits Band. Otherwise, you just get porn all day long, which is part of why we called the band that. It's a multi band. We thought that was really funny. But yeah, I toured around and played in bands for forever, and those bands were always broke. And so I started doing music videos. And then after doing music videos for a while, I was like, oh, I'm actually better at this than I am at music, sadly. And so, or not, sadly, depending on how you look at it. I've been obsessed with film since I was a little kid. The first film I remember seeing is Creature from the Black Lagoon when I was 5 in 3D. And really thought you could catch the fish, and it like blew my mind how magic everything was. The second film I saw was Rocky Horror. So, I think I was sort of made for this. I've been watching horror movies, I grew up in the during the 80s renaissance of horror. It's just like kind of before the torture porn of late, and
Mhm.
where everything was just a little bit funny. Like I always thought Freddy Krueger was almost a comedian, with his tongue coming out of the phone and licking the girl's face and everything. It's just, those movies were really funny. Like Evil Dead 2 is hilarious, and there's some modern filmmakers that subscribe to that. Hey, look at that. Oh, I love the Evil Dead series. Even the remakes are good with Evil Dead,
Yeah.
can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Bruce Campbell, that clique of people,
yes.
actually, it's really interesting because I would associate you and your, I don't, what do I call it? Studio, your crew, your posse, what you do kind of with that group of people because it's a gang. It's
Yeah.
Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi and Rob Tapert and Bruce
Yeah, yeah. And they were
Campbell.
friends with the Coen brothers too. So the Coen brothers rip off the Sammy
Yep.
Cam here and there. And yeah, yeah. They all figured out how to raise money together too. And
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that's awesome. Yeah, I actually I'm in film school right now, and all my little film buddies were all planning on making a bunch of horror just together. But yeah, I kind of have a cast of characters. John Waters is a heavy influence on me,
mhm.
obviously. So yeah, my first film, Dragzilla, it's kind of a takeoff on Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, only with a drag queen. And Dragzilla, I think our budget. Well, I never actually made a budget, but our budget ended up being about $800, for the entire movie, right? And I spent like 400 on like making a tiny little city out of cardboard and paint and a green screen, and the other 400 was like on pizza and Metro cards for everybody, to get to set or whatever. And then since then, I've made a bunch of horror shorts, and The Big Johnson is my first feature, but I made Night of the Living Gay. Um, I was a trans werewolf is an interesting one of my gay fairy tales series. Bloodbath of Terror, of course. I made a
Mhm.
film called Tits and Blood, give the people what they want, right? I made this really silly short. So people, I'm like a non-binary lesbian person that doesn't believe in gender. I have a wife or whatever. But I had a bunch of people from the lesbian community be like, why don't you make a lesbian movie? And I was like, okay, I'll make a lesbian movie. And so my lesbian movie is called Brunch, and it's really my most horrific film. It's shot like a tampon commercial. I'll send it to you. And I could give your listeners links to all this stuff too. But it's shot like a tampon commercial, and it's about a couple that loves to like have sex with food and then feed it to all of their friends. And to me, it's the most horrible thing I've ever made. But that's the only film that I made that got into like specifically like lesbian film festivals and stuff. Because they're like, oh, your sexy little film. And I'm like, no, it's not supposed to be sexy. It's supposed to be like, it's supposed to scare you. Don't eat the quiche. Anyway, um, but I grew up watching, Mystery Science Theater and John Waters movies, and of course, like, George Romero and John Carpenter. I love John Carpenter. All the horror masterminds. I just loved it so much. Like from a very early age, I was like dressing up like Jason and chasing people around with a fake knife. So, and you seem like you're a kindred spirit in that.
Oh
Halloween
yeah.
is my only holiday I care about, and I just think it's just so fun, to get scared by our own demons, be demonic towards somebody else. Scares are very fun to me. I think there's a reason why a lot of comedians are very good horror filmmakers, like Jordan Peele, is because it's the same thing. It's like set up, joke, or set up, scare. I think it's a really fun way to talk about society at large. In the 50s, all those giant monster movies like Tarantula, you
Yep.
know, that Tarantula happened because people were scared of the atom bomb. Like back to Jordan Peele, a movie like Get Out happened right when Trump was elected because racism is terrifying, if not one of the biggest, scariest things of our lifetime. of anybody's lifetime. So and he knew that, and that's why that film was so scary. It's
It's
like horror is a way for us as humans to process, first of all, oh my God, I'm going to die someday,
yeah.
and also just like any fear that we might actually have. Like I'm writing a script right now that I'm going to shoot in the spring that's basically just about a bunch of queerdos in the woods having to like fight their way out. And there are these like sort of MAGA aliens. They're not actually MAGA people, they come from outer space, but it's like that kind of threat. And then their neighbors all have to get together. It's like a community. Let's all get together as humans to fight the real foe, which to me is big business and gabillionaires trying to own everything we do and control us.
Can
So,
can 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 we? You know what? The news the last few days has been particularly difficult for me
oh
because
my God, so terrible.
everybody
Yeah.
at my house is on the spectrum, and now we have
Yes.
all of this ridiculous, insane, um, false information out there, and all this misunderstanding. And I'm thinking, can we feed the aliens Tylenol to escape?
Well, the aliens are going to kind of come in the form of all these villains. Like there's going to be an Elon Musk, like Sig Heiling in the background, and then
Oh
and
man,
then they finally have to like figure out that it's like they're actually from outer space. So anyway, yeah, the government right now is doing like Nazi 101. You separate like the 1% of the population, like trans people,
yeah.
people with autism create some of the greatest things that humankind has ever known. I mean, like people that where their brains work differently are the innovators, are the artists, are the
Huh.
musicians, are the the people that break the norm in order for to move society forward, you know.
The Yeah, the person I feel bad for is my poor daughter. I'm high masking. I may not be high functioning, but I'm very
Mhm.
high masking. I can go out in public and people don't think there's anything different about me as long as I keep my mouth shut, right? My poor daughter, who is 21 and living in an assisted facility so that she can get therapy to break out into the world without the beneficial assistance of her parents basically slowing her down.
Right,
We
sure.
want to help her so much that we don't actually end up doing her any good.
Right, right. You want
Uh,
her to be independent. So,
but
yeah, makes
the
sense.
the person I feel sorry for is her because she has to enter, the first stage of her real adulthood with this nonsense.
That is true, but I also think that this nonsense will end. Like we are going to have to fight to make sure that it's not some sort of permanent thing that ruins our fucking country,
Yeah,
ruins the country,
yeah.
where like, somebody who, like my cousin just had a baby, and that baby going to grow up in fascism? I mean, that's really what we're talking about here, is the fight against being free and not being free, no matter who you are. No matter who you are. And all these people that think that they're safe because they're white and straight and their brains work in some sort of way that society deems to be normal, whatever that means, they're not going to be safe either. You
No.
know, like, well, look what happened to fucking Jimmy Kimmel. It
Uh,
doesn't matter who you are, it's all about control so they can steal our money.
It's funny too. You mentioned, and by the way, when I do these interviews, I usually talk with someone for about an hour, and we have a
Okay.
good time. We have a good conversation. When I get ready to put it all together, I go through and I kind of edit a thing that meets what we're doing, and I send it to you so you can make sure I'm not changing what you have to say around.
Oh, I
You know what I
appreciate that.
mean?
I trust you. You are a friend of a friend, and you seem like a very sweet, sweet human being. But that's awesome. Love it.
And then I offer the rest of the interview up on the website if there's enough interest, so that people can enjoy the whole conversation from beginning to end.
Mhm.
And in case they need context, some of the things we talk about may or may not make airtime, but it'll all be offered up for people to hear. Um, and I just want to say the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing. I don't know whether this will go out to my radio to my listeners, and you tell me what you think, or whether it's going to be something that we put to the side. But don't go back to Disney. They didn't let Jimmy come back out of the goodness of their hearts. They made the same financial decision they made when they took him off the air.
Of course.
These
Well,
people,
I mean, and I agree with you. The thing that is dangerous is that the media is about to be owned by like three billionaires, and that's
Yeah.
it. And the thing that was good about the Jimmy Kimmel thing, which by the way, why don't we do it for Colbert too?
Yeah.
What happened to Colbert? We're just leaving him out high and dry. Anyway, the thing about the Jimmy Kimmel thing is I think that it did show people that we actually have the power.
Yeah.
Like if we hate what our government's doing, if we all just stopped paying taxes, we could really get their attention. You know what I mean? Like the people actually have the power, and that's why they're trying to act like we don't and separate us from ourselves.
It's
You
getting
know?
really, yeah, it's getting really hard to be a good nerd, I will tell you that, because
Oh
now
my God,
I have
nerds rule the
access.
world.
I don't have access to new Star Wars, and I don't have access to new Star Trek. And
Yeah.
I hate that, but if I support it, what are those properties going to turn into in order to be arable in the new, what's the word I'm looking for? Gestalt?
Yeah.
What's going to happen to those properties in order to make them suitable for Trump's America? I'm not going to support that.
No, and also, it's the same thing as like there's no such thing as a good Nazi. I mean, that's what we're dealing with is people that want to be Nazis. Pete Hegseth has a giant iron cross like this big on his chest. Like that big. It's not like he's hiding it. Nobody's hiding it. We know exactly what they are and what they're trying to do, and the government is not going to stop them. So I think it's up to us to stop them, and the only thing they care about is our money.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
So we just need to put our money where it matters, and not, like you said, don't go back to Disney, make them earn it. So the whole thing with Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, they brought him back just the Google searches for people being like, how do I cancel my Hulu?
Hmm.
So big that it scared the shit out of all of them. And the
Yeah.
stock tanked and the people that, the money people got scared.
Let
So
this be a lesson to you, because that whole fight between Ron DeSantis and Disney, you would think Disney was big enough to do anything Disney wanted ever. But who caved? Who's going to cave? Who's going to cave every time? It's
yeah.
Disney. These
Yeah.
people are where we get a lot of the very best um, examples of inclusion and tolerance and diversity of all sorts. And they're the same people who roll over for Donald Trump's FCC like that.
Well, and I think that's the issue of these conglomerates being so big. Like when I heard that Disney bought Hulu, my first thought was, uh-oh. Like, uh-oh. Because, and I work in film and television, and, I made a TV pilot kind of based on Pam Grier up there called Nefertiti. I did Nefertiti in space, and then a TV pilot. And it's literally like a black woman with a machine gun fighting racism. Do you think anyone's going to buy that right now? You know what I mean? Like,
And
an
it's too
Oscar
bad,
winning
because I
film.
love Nefertiti and I love
I know
Anderson.
she's pretty
I
badass.
love me.
I mean, I think that what's going to happen is there will be these like independent things. Independent film will always be able to say whatever it wants to, and I think there's just going to have to be independent radio, independent television, independent, internet, whatever that
Yeah.
airs the shit that's anti-fascism, you know?
No, I agree. I think you're probably right. And I'm glad right now that I'm doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
with this radio station and my 100 listeners a month right now. It's going to grow.
You
Back in
you
the
have to
old days,
start somewhere, you start with 100, then you get to 1,000, then you keep going up.
the quality of my listeners is worth quite a bit to me.
Yes.
So, we were talking a few minutes ago about the crew over.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
my crew.
yeah.
I know. Well, we were all in New York in this beautiful time in the East Village when it was like you could afford to live there and you can make movies for, $20 and my rent was $300 and like,
Hmm.
and so we just were like just running around the Lower East Side making stuff on the cheap. And I really, really miss those days because it really felt like sort of my early John Waters period. I had like world famous Bob who has like F cup boobs and and of course, Maine Anders, who is Nefertiti, and my friend Greg Siebel, who is Dragzilla, everybody's in the same neighborhood doing the same thing. And now we're just kind of scattered. Like, everybody lives in different places. There's not a lot of people that like the people that do live in New York have to have like actual real jobs. And
Yeah.
so it's pretty hard to, there's this one performer that I've wanted to work with forever named Femme Appeal, but she has like a real job. And so it's been really hard for me to like get her into a movie. And she is fucking hilarious. Unbelievable. Unbelievable funny burlesquer. Look her up. It's worth it. Anyway, but it's been really hard for me to get her into a film because she has to have a real everybody's got to have a real job, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, and so now I actually have to raise money like a regular filmmaker and pay people, which is good. You should always pay your crew and your
It's
cast.
it's it's funny if you've got to be an artist and keep a terrestrial job. I really recommend something service oriented because my terrestrial job doing just simple home services for people has put me in the room on more than one occasion with Wes Craven,
Awesome.
Ela Bunka.
What
Gosh,
was Wes
almost
Craven like? I just loved him so much. What was he like?
Wes was Wes was just neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go to Wes's house to help him out, and he would pull me up to his. He had this little workshop slash office in the top of the house, and they had this. It had a balcony, and the house had this flat roof. It was like a compound, all in one building. And we'd go up on his roof to look around and see what we could see on Martha's Vineyard together.
Awesome.
He would find like animals that had died outside, specifically birds in particular, and he would lay them out on his roof and sketch them in various stages of decomposition, and then incorporate the sketches into ideas that he was working on. But yeah, I
That is just awesome. I mean, for someone to come up with like Nightmare on Elm Street and the Scream series in one lifetime, you know, even if he made no other movies, which he did, he made tons of other movies, but just to do those two things, like those two iconic horror franchises in one lifetime, I mean, it's pretty incredible. Like George Romero, he's still on the zombie train and he is the godfather of all zombie movies, but it's not like he did zombie movies and he recreated like a werewolf movie or something like that. Like, you know, Wes Craven was really one of those brains that just like, holy wowzers, you
he,
know?
he was the most down to earth guy too.
Oh,
I can tell you. Sadly, he's gone now,
yeah.
obviously, but I can tell you now. You would go to his house, and I had to. I've been in Wes Craven's crawl space. Okay, and Wes Craven went
And
in
you
there with
live
me.
to tell about it.
Yes. Wes Craven went in there with me, took a drill and aluminum handles and installed handles specifically for me to get up and over equipment in his crawl space so I could look around other places. He had a workshop in his house that would have made you think he was a home engineer or something. He was, I mean, all he did when he was home was tinker with stuff in his basement. He was such a neat guy. And his wife, Ia, people don't know who she was. She produced Heathers. She worked on Planet Terror with Roger
Really?
Corman. Yeah,
That's awesome.
and she did the makeup for Tim Curry in Legend.
Wow.
So she's a neat character too. But yeah, you get to meet people when you do service work, and you get to make connections. I very nearly got to meet John Waters 2 or 3 weeks ago, but ultimately he decided not to have us out. He was in
John
Provincetown.
Waters a couple of times. He's a very, very nice, hilarious person. And his life is hysterical. One of the times I met him, my film was opening for Ed Wood. Dragzilla was opening up for Plan 9 from Outer Space in Poughkeepsie in this great big theater that my friends owned or whatever. And it was like this awesome, really funny night. And then there was like a John Waters event the next night. So I stayed and went to the John Waters event and everybody got to like meet him after. And as I was just coming up to say hello to him, like three or four other people handed him like headshots and all this like like a stuffed vagina, and then this one person handed John a headshot and it was just them completely naked, and I was like, what is your life like all the time like this? And it's just like, it's just always this. It's awesome, you know.
That's
I hope
fantastic.
I don't know if he'll ever make another movie. He just talks about how people like his books and he'll do whatever he can make money at, So, but shock value was a big part of my film experience was reading that book and how he made his early movies.
Well, this guy at John Waters and this guy right here,
Yeah.
Prince Saint. Don't worry about it. Just get it on the air. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
get it
Yeah,
out
just
there.
get it done. Exactly. Yeah, John Waters said after he made Divine Eat a piece of poop, he never had to have a day job again. And I like that thing. It's like, shock value is real. If you can get people talking about your movie, then that means you get to make another one. Have you seen Weapons yet?
I haven't seen Weapons yet. It's on my list.
I don't want to spoil anything for you. Weapons is ugh. Oh, it's beautiful and it's so gory. I didn't realize how gory it was. I saw it twice in the theater, and the second time I was with my wife, who's a little more squeamish about this shit than I am, and she was just like, like it's really gory and really great, and a new villain finally. We need a new
Yeah.
villain.
Well,
Yeah,
it's funny. You were saying something earlier about how, we're in the age of torture, uh,
yeah,
torture
torture
horror.
porn and yeah, yeah.
Here's the thing. It's since like 1972, 73, when I was first able to be aware of what horror was. And I had John Zacherle's album. All right. I was listening to Zacherle the Cool Ghoul every night to go to bed. Um, but ever since then, it's been our horror was so much better.
Oh yeah,
The new horror is so terrible, and it all relies on gore.
yep.
These movies aren't good anymore. They just get gorier and gorier. And then, you look back from now to, let's say the era of Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah, yeah,
Think
those are
that about
fun.
those films, and those films are fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, they're fun. I mean, I just, you gotta release the tension sometime. There has to be like I do tend to think at least the horror that I like, there has to be at least one or two jokes in there for me to really get behind it. I mean, some things like The Shining or Rosemary's Baby, obviously you don't need a joke in that. It's
Yeah,
just you're along for the ride, you're along for the horror, but they're so well done and the directing of them is actually so beautiful that it elevates it to kind of this art piece about
yeah.
terror, as opposed to just like Centipede 12, where, let's just find a bunch of like dumbass 20-year-olds and string them all together by their guts.
There's a difference in not wanting to see something that's gross and being hit by a jump scare. And
Yes.
it can be gross and be a jump scare, but there is a difference there. It's
Got to know the rules. Just watch Scream 1. They'll tell you all the rules. The
yeah.
rules are there. Listen to Wes Craven. So,
Oh man. So I am really intrigued by something we talked about on the phone. Um and I definitely want you to spend a few minutes talking about Big Johnson because it's your newest thing and I am really eager to see it. I
oh, I'll send you a link. A Big Johnson, I'm not sure if I can announce, but I'm just going to say it anyway because who cares? We're playing in we've been doing the film festival thing all year. Our last film festival will be Dock and Roll in London in October, right before Halloween, October 29th, at the Roxy Theater. And we 2026 sometime we're going to do some theatrical dates in New York at the Quad Cinema. And then from there, streaming Apple and Amazon. So
okay.
Johnson's doing great. We will do some dates. Like I just talked to some friends of mine that are kind of starting a theatrical distribution company. And so we'll probably do some dates in some sort of bigger cities too. It's playing in LA for LA Femme Film Festival, October 15th, I think, and then the 29th in London, and then New York in January, and then from there TBD. But I have a distributor. Freestyle is my distributor, and so they'll have everything up and out, and so everybody will be able to know. Or you can always like look me up on either Instagram or Facebook or whatever. So, and it'll be up there too. So, yeah, the Big Johnson is about my friend Dean Johnson, who he's usually behind me somewhere. Here we are, who is a drag queen, musician. That's the big guy, and that's me dressed as a nun. I was in
Oh,
his
wow.
band, saxophone. I was a flying nun, just an Arab Jew in a nun's outfit. And so Dean was this incredible musician that kind of had his heyday in New York City in the Lower East Side, East Village in the 80s and 90s. He was, as far as I know, one of the few, if not the only out person on a major record label. He lost his record deal because he refused to go to be in the closet. It was the AIDS crisis, and he felt it was important that he didn't just act like he wasn't gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and he sang songs about sex and drugs and rock and roll. He was just the funniest person in the world. He like was at the first Wigstock, was at the like the biggest parties in New York. He was always either there or throwing them. He threw this legendary party called Rock and Roll Fag Bar, and it was like the only party, the first party in New York anyway, that combined like the gay community and the rock community and like let anybody of any gender in. You could be straight and be in there, it wouldn't matter. And then major bands played there, like David Bowie played in there, like, Blondie played in there, and then it'd also be like, naked go-go dancers and like sex in the back room and these wild, wild parties that don't really happen anymore. I don't think there'd be like 1,000 people dancing to the Ramones and a bunch of people having sex in a back room, and then like Robert Plant would walk by just because he heard about the party. It was like a real celebrity crazy, like, and everything was like $3 back then too. It was
Right.
like he was the only person to ever have a queer party at CBGB's, the legendary CBGB's. And I played in his band. He was a good friend of mine. And so later in his life, he became an escort because money. And he couldn't really hold a job. It just like, it killed him inside to have any kind of desk job. He just couldn't do it. And so he was a very high-end prostitute. Like, we're talking, you know, trips on jets and, staying at the plaza, that kind of prostitute sex worker person. He went on a job in 2007 and just never came back. And then we found out later that another male escort died in the same apartment 4 days beforehand. And so they started a police investigation, but they didn't really find too much out. The person he was with was a Saudi national that worked for the State Department that had a certain amount of money. And no charges were brought. Toxicology was that he OD'd. I saw him a week before he died. And, I've seen Dean through a lot of highs and lows, and he seems pretty sober to me. I'm not saying anything. Anything can happen at any time. You could be sober for 20 years and then OD. It's the drug addiction is difficult. But yeah, it's just a little shady. I'm not even a documentary filmmaker really. I guess I am now, but I wasn't before. I usually make horror comedies and stuff, but Dean was one of my best friends. He meant a lot to me. And so me and his sister Beth started the long, arduous uh trail of making a doc for him. So, and it's, I'm really proud of it. I'm really happy that like when we go places, it's like people are meeting him again, so that's really fun. And he was just like the craziest crackpot in the world, and so it's like a real honor to do his movie for him. But after doing one documentary, whoo boy are they hard, and they take forever. It took 7 years working on it and getting all the archive, finding all the stories, all that stuff. And so my next film will just be a down and dirty horror movie that I can make in like a year and and have out there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't mixed a bucket of blood for almost 2 years. It's really
Oh,
sad.
wow. Have a good time with that. And if you
I know.
film down this way, please let me know. I'll come and care. To be a part of it, I'll do anything. I'll carry,
Oh,
fetch,
that is
whatever you need.
that is
Uh,
good to know, and you're totally hired. And by the way, for your listeners, if you don't know how to make fake blood, it's all just corn syrup, food dye, and if you want to make it really gross, put jelly in there, like jam, chunky jam. And then if you want to make it really, really gross, take a banana and get those strings off the banana and throw that in there, mix it all up, and you have just a really gross bucket of blood. You're
oh, that's
welcome.
fantastic. That is fantastic. I love it.
Or so I made Attack of the Yoga Zombies, and that film we had extra blood, which I was really surprised by because I was pouring it on everyone I could find. But I had it in my garage for so long that it like curdled on the top. I was like, oh my
Oh, that's great.
God.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, and Yoga Zombies is a lot of fun. It's not you don't need a lot of time to get involved in it. It's a
No, you
great
do
deal
not.
of fun. And I found it, I believe, on YouTube.
Yes, yes. I'll send links to all of my work if you guys want to see it. Attack of the Yoga Zombies is only a 15-minute short. I made it while I was making my documentary, and I also made Bloodbath of Terror while I was making the doc because docs take forever. And so yeah, and so I like for my short films for any of you filmmakers out there. I try and make them as short as they can be. I try and, because nobody wants to watch a 40-minute short. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but for the most part, like Nefertiti in Space, Nefertiti got into a million film festivals, and then Nefertiti in Space only got into a couple. And I had actual programmers writing me just being like, this is 30 minutes. How am I going to program this thing? So if you're a filmmaker and you're attempting your first film, or you have a short that you want to get out there, make them short. Make them as short as you can make
It's
them.
it's funny you say that because we just did a big Conan the Barbarian spectacular thing where we ran 3 hours of programming that some of which haven't hasn't seen the light of day in 50 years.
Wow.
And to their credit, our listeners hung in there. But that 3 hour mark, I mean, it's got to be it's too much. It's an awful lot of work to put into something that, and because we're radio, so we're not a podcast. You can't download us later. You catch it live or you don't catch it, right?
Right. God, that's awesome.
So, 3 hours live is tough, and a lot of
Yeah.
listeners these days don't have the attention span. So I mean, I can imagine in film you're looking at chop that up into like an hour is more like 5 or 10 minutes.
Mhm.
At 5 minutes you're good. At 10 minutes you're okay. At 30 minutes you're beyond the attention span of your average internet consumer these days.
Well, yeah, you just have to make sure that whatever it is compelling and pulls you in the whole way. I've seen films that are 3 minutes long that somehow still bored me. I don't know how. And then I've also seen films that are like, 30 minutes long and they didn't. The worst thing you can do is bore your audience. That's that old adage, that old filmmaking adage or whatever. I'm not saying it has to be like wham bam, all the time or whatever. Like I watched a short film recently that was like beautiful. It was from the Middle East and there was no dialogue in it. And it was like 10 minutes and it just totally moved me to tears. And I was there the whole time and it was just two kids in a car. It doesn't matter what you do, you just have to grab your people. Grab your people. I,
It's
I watched Rope recently because, I was born on Alfred Hitchcock's birthday. And apart from who he was as a man, as a filmmaker, he was great. And so I watched Rope and I was watching it with another friend of mine, and they were bored out of their minds because it was so slow and deliberate and shot, the first sort of trying to be one take kind of movie or whatever. And the pacing now is fast. You got to keep up.
yeah.
Everyone's scrolling constantly. The media that people watch, it's just in these tiny little clips. It's hard to hold attention. People don't read that much anymore, so you have to match whatever you're doing to the attention span. So.
It's funny too because I can't believe how many times on a radio broadcast I'm going to end up using the word titty, but I love Nefertiti in space. It could be
Yeah,
45 minutes to an hour. It's
I
just
know.
so
I
much
know. Just
fun.
the montage is like 10 minutes. Yeah, that's hilarious. Oh man, I know. Well, you should say titty as much as possible because everybody loves titties. Doesn't even matter
Yes.
who you are. I have a lot of gay male friends and they still love boobs. Everybody loves boobs. It's the easy thing. We all come from, as babies liking boobs. Whatever.
So,
Um, but I
gosh,
digress.
I'm curious actually. So I just had the weirdest random thought cross my mind. Uh, Have you done any horror conventions? Have you done any shows?
I haven't done horror conventions yet. I have done some film festivals that were just me and my own work or whatever at you know galleries, and then also at like anthology film archives. And so I have had some curated festivals where it's like 10 of my shorts or something like that. And it's either playing in like a gallery format, which makes me laugh. It's like John Waters being in the Academy Gallery, and he's like, when the fuck did this happen? Well, they're selling my books outside of this fancy gallery. So it kind of feels like that. But I love horror conventions. I would love to go. I would go to a horror convention just to try and find PJ Souls. Where the
I
hell's
wish
PJ Souls? I love
I
PJ
wish
Souls.
that I wish we had known you in some form. I would guess about 5, 6 years ago when they did the first big TerraCon in Rhode Island, which is close to you guys, because
Ooh.
we had Kane Hodder and Malcolm McDowell and Chris Sarandon. Um,
Rocky Horror's turning 50 this year, so this
I
thing in New York with like I think Tim Curry's going to be there and everything. Yeah. Yep.
I met Tim Curry briefly, and he was post stroke, so he was in his wheelchair. And the first thing
Right.
I did was took a knee, and said, I could only ever look up to you.
Yes.
And it's true. I mean, he's just the people today don't understand how closed it was back in the 80s, how
Yeah.
there was no out of the closet. You
Yeah.
were in the closet or you were a social pariah, and that was it. And once a week in most neighborhoods with a halfway decent art theater, you got to come out and go to the Rocky Horror Show. And you literally didn't have to dream it. You could be it for a couple of hours every week. It was such a huge deal.
That film changed my life. And again, I saw it when I was 7, but when Frankenfurter came down the elevator, I was like, my life changed because I was like, oh, I'm actually a gay alien. I'm more these people than I am. Like, I have more in common with these folks than anybody like that I know yet at 7. Like which is my family or whatever. My family was like way more Brad and Janet, and I am definitely way more riffraff. And that was actually my first film that I remember studying. Like, I learned that Richard O'Brien, wrote the score and most of the screenplay, and Jim Sharman was the name of the director, and I looked at behind the scenes stuff that was available back then, which, was like in print and stuff, and so, yeah, that was sort of my first film education where I learned, oh, there's actually someone who makes this happen. And I think Rocky Horror is a big reason why I'm a director.
It's funny, I almost came to blows with Meatloaf at a convention one
Did
time.
you? He's a dick. It's pretty unfortunate. Yeah, he's pretty NRA, like, you
He
know,
he
come on,
must have
Loaf.
he jumps to conclusions very quickly. I was trying to express to him that he doesn't need a moderator at a convention or at a panel because he's a musician. He knows how to work a room. He's like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm an actor." Yeah, but no, I'm an actor. And I'm like, "Dude, I'm just trying to say you know how to work a crowd. Come on."
I would have been like, barely. You're barely an actor, Meatloaf. He
Oh man.
auditioned for Saturday Night Live. He didn't get it, but he was one of the auditions for Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
I met him and Barry Bostwick the same day.
Barry Bostwick seems cool.
Barry's very cool.
I
Uh,
love that, him and Susan Sarandon were a couple at the beginning of Rocky Horror and not a couple at the end of Rocky Horror, just like what happens in the movie.
I got to
So
show you a thing. Hang on a second.
I love that Evil Dead shirt. So good.
Barry Bostwick signed his tidy whities for me.
That's amazing. He just seems so cool. And to have to wear those giant tidy whities. I mean, what a guy.
Oh man, that was a lot of fun. But uh, yeah, Rocky Horror is absolutely seminal. It's very important to
Mhm.
all of Gen X, specifically because the idea of having a place where you could go and find other people who were like you and were too busy relishing in the fact that they weren't getting judged to even
Yeah.
think about judging anybody else.
Well, and the freaks and the weirdos were the cool kids. Brad
Yeah.
and Janet were the corny, and Dr. Scott, was a ex-Nazi, I think, in that too. It's like under the radar, of Dr. Von Scott. But they were the people you didn't want to be like. Everybody else were the people that you wanted to be like. You wanted to be a part of that party. And I think that, like, for a young queer kid like me, growing up in a very, very sort of straight family, and society at the time, it's a very freeing thing to get to be yourself. What a master stroke of telling people that it's okay to be themselves. And I think that's why so many people 50 years later gravitate towards that movie. But that's the art of cinema too, is that it's a collective. Like, we're all together, screaming together when we get scared and laughing together, crying together. It makes us more human going to see movies. Go see movies in the theater.
Absolutely.
Filmmakers need it, movies need it, and it's part of that collective experience.
That's where you're supposed to be afraid. See
Yes.
horror movies in the theater, in the dark, in a room full of strangers. That's the way it's supposed to be. You have
That's very well said. Yes, and true. So for this Halloween, if you can do anything for us besides listen to this amazing radio show, go see a movie in the theater.
so you had a really neat take on basically gay zombies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah,
indoctrination.
one but yes, yes. So Night of the Living Gay, which in retrospect I should have called Gay of the Dead. Come on, it was just laying there. So Night of the Living Gay, you're one bite away from gay is basically like there's one straight woman left in New York and she's being chased by gay zombies. And so if you get bitten by a gay zombie, you become gay. And most of that is a short, it's a, and it's obviously ridiculous. But when I was growing up, people treated gay kids like we were contagious. Oh, don't get near me because you're gay. And so really, as one of those gay kids who was like, ew, you're gay. Oh, it's like something really bad. For me, I just wanted to make a film about that. Like, oh, there's a point where, world famous Bob, who's the lead in that movie, is like running around scantily clad, being chased by lesbians and gay people and trans people and whatever, all in zombie makeup, running through the streets with no permits, of course, in New York City. And she falls and is like, no, no, Dick, I love Dick. I just like, I love that line because one, it's so stupid. And two, like, obviously we can't turn somebody gay, which is ridiculous as people trying to do like therapy to turn gay people straight. It's
Yeah,
impossible. You are who you are,
yeah.
you love who you love, and everybody else should just stay the fuck out of it. Honestly.
At best, there's no conversion. There's no switching back and forth. There's
No, those
just
convert, Bowen Yang had to go through conversion therapy, and conversion therapy is like pretty awful. Yeah, they like zap
yeah.
you, they show you gay porn and then they zap you. So,
It's pretty awful. It's that
yeah.
sexuality is fluid by nature,
Yes.
people.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
that's just the way that it is. Sorry, if you look at the all of the living creatures in the entirety of existence, there's a lot more fluid than there is gender. That's just
Yeah.
the way that it is.
That is exactly right. And that is, scientists believe the same thing. There's also no such thing as race. Race was invented by lighter skinned people to oppress darker
Yeah.
skinned people. We are all human people. And, Native Americans believe there's like five genders. The fact that we made it two is kind of ridiculous. Everybody's sort of in between. And the people that have a problem with it are the ones that, at night probably dream about exactly the person that they're demonizing during
Yeah.
the day. Like it's obvious that like all this uptightness has nothing to do with somebody like Jesus who basically just said try and be nice to each other and not be so greedy and
Yeah.
not murder each other. It has more to do with like power and control and people not like hating themselves for whatever the hell's going on in there, you know.
I really love the idea that, okay, once upon a time it was nuclear proliferation. So
Mhm.
giant ants, giant spiders, and then it was xenophobia, so aliens.
Yes, yes.
And now it's sexuality, so it's, gay zombies,
Yeah.
we're lesbians. I love the idea that as opposed to,
We're lesbians is going to have to be my next movie. I love that. The leg hair alone. Come
yeah,
on.
absolutely. The whole thing though is, we're making this film about what society is that is meant to be a safe outlet for what society is afraid of. And instead of, oh, let's do, I'm not sure how exactly to put this. There are a couple of ways you can do this, and the way that you chose, I think, is fantastic because not only is it okay, look, we're going to prey on society's fears. We're going to prey on society's dumbest fear, and we're going to make you look dumb as a result. I
Exactly.
love that.
Exactly. That's exactly right. One of my good friends, Gina, who does a lot of my soundtracks, Gina Volpe, who is in the Lunatics. They did a CBGB's Fest yesterday or last weekend and opened for like Iggy Pop. She's just this amazing rock star, an incredible person. Anyway, so Gina Volpe music, check it out. She's done a bunch of solo albums too, but she writes most of my soundtracks. She wrote the Nefertiti theme song. She can write anything in any genre. It's like really an incredible thing. She did part of the soundtrack for Dean's movie. All of my movies that I've made so far have some, Gina imprint there. But what she says is that I take a movie that's already bad and make it worse and therefore make it better. And I think that that's pretty good. That my directing style is to take a movie that's already bad, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, make it worse, Dragzilla, and then somehow it's better. And that's like I love campy cult classics. Like midnight movies were always my favorite movies. I'd watch Jaws and root for the shark. I'm always like on the side of the underdog. So
There's no better line in any film than, "Oh my God, where did you get those shoes?" in that context. There is, my listeners absolutely have to go watch Dragzilla. I dare you, no matter what your particular views on anything are, I dare you to watch that film and not laugh. And if we can
Yes, exactly.
together,
What's funny is I thought that I Am a Size Queen would be the big laugh of that film. No one laughs at I Am a Size Queen. Everybody laughs at that shoe line, every
yeah,
single person. So you never know about anything. Yeah, no, yeah, my next film, besides the horror that I'm working on Homo the Musical, which Gina and I did off Broadway. And it's basically like gay aliens, a gay alien from outer space drops into like a tea party suburb and systematically turns everybody gay to song and dance. And it's like really rocking. And so my next like big film that I'm gonna do, my fiction feature is Homo the Musical. And it's gonna be like now 33% more gay. And it's just gonna totally prey on the fears of all these people that act like gay people are somehow out to get them. Like we think about them all the time and are planning some nefarious deed. We don't think about y'all. Like you're the ones that are oppressed and repressed and thinking about us all the time. I don't sit
yeah,
around thinking about a Republican congressman ever.
no,
So, yeah.
we, I, there's so many places we could go politically. I just posted a thing on Facebook a few days ago that says, if y'all had listened to Anita Hill in the first place, we wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And it's true. We don't. You don't go around. It's
It's
nobody
much
really
older than
understands.
that, I somebody like from Europe asked like I'm going to get the person's name wrong, but some scholar like, what is going on with the United States? Why do you think this is happening? And she was like, because we didn't punish the Confederacy enough. And I was like, I think it goes way back to that. It goes way back to the original sin of genocide and slavery and how we built this country and how we just acted like, duh, duh, duh. White people built everything and we're fine. We deserve everything because we built everything. Like we haven't ever looked back at the original sin. And so we can't ever heal from it because it's still like, we just gaslighted our way through until now. And all these people that have power right now, they're all wannabe Nazis and slave owners. So they're all wannabe, the MAGA hat is now the Confederate flag. It's the same fucking shit.
Isn't it true? I mean, oh gosh, it's funny because I'm not. I'm not going to ask you your age, but I figure you and I are probably, if not the same age, we're head button up against the same experience,
Yes, we are
same
for sure.
mileage. We'll put it
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Um, isn't it interesting how it's only children and old men? And by children, I don't mean minors. I mean
Like
20-year-old dude bros.
20-year-old Nazi youth people. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's who categorize these things. At this point, uh, yeah, sure, I'm part of the community, but I'm not one thing or another. I'm just a grown-up who's hoping that I don't have to go back to hiding
Yeah.
who I like and
Yeah.
why. Uh,
Yeah.
and we could use a lot more people. Uh,
I don't think people understand how much damage they're doing just by like siding with the people that oppress other people. Like I think they think somehow I don't know what they think actually. It doesn't make sense to me. But like say someone has some transphobic comment, they think that maybe doesn't matter, but that transphobic comment in the wrong hands would get a person killed. Like
yeah,
like trans women are the most murdered women of anybody else in the United States, especially trans women of color. And so all this rhetoric that they act like doesn't matter actually matters.
oh,
Like I was a huge fan of Dave Chappelle and I can't listen to that fucker anymore because he's actively hurting trans people in my community.
it's a question of gaps and ratios that people don't really understand, and nobody really understands when they're hurting themselves until they've done damage they can't come back from. But
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
when you're looking at a map of the whole world, right? Some things seem really, really far away. But when you pare that down to, let's say, a map of the United States, you're looking at Los Angeles and New York,
Mhm.
and Los Angeles is far away, but it's a whole lot closer than the whole rest of the world. Um, what am I trying to say? I'm having a really hard time with it, and really, this interview is about you, not what I think.
Oh,
But
it's a conversation between us both. You're just as interesting as I am, man. So.
the more you highlight deviation, not deviance, because deviance is imaginary. All right, the more
Mhm.
you highlight deviation, things that are different, when you cut them off, you're in a much smaller field of perspective.
Mhm.
And suddenly, your tiny little deviance that never would have been noticed on a map of the world is standing really, really proud and clear in a map of, Sherman Oaks.
Mhm.
The more you single out and cut off those who are different from you, the more your own differences stand out. And the faster the rest of the world runs out of people to cut off, the more likely you are to get cut off. And it's
Well,
just
that's the
dumb.
thing. Like people feel like, these ICE raids that are happening. Oh, it'll never happen to me. I'm a citizen. Yeah, not yet. Not yet. It won't
Not
happen.
yet.
But,
Exactly.
if we get to a point where you can't speak out and everybody that speaks out against the government is Antifa or whatever, is like they'll arrest you just as fast as they'll arrest anybody else. Don't act like you're not involved because you are going to be involved.
I will.
I always thought that a good punishment for people that feel like there's only one kind of person that should be celebrated, their punishment should be that they can't eat or listen to or watch anything from another person that's separate from whatever your fucking race is.
Yeah.
Great. Enjoy your like bologna on Wonder Bread because you can't eat Mexican food ever again. Fuck you. You can't have Ethiopian food. You can't have even pizza. Go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? You can't watch any of your favorite sports stars. You can't listen to any of your favorite music. You can't look at any of your favorite art. You can't have the culture of the people you oppress, you know? And I think that then they would realize how small-minded they have been and how their lives greatly benefit from having different kinds of people in it?
So I do actually, and I really love talking to somebody who is, it's not that there aren't lots of people who feel this way, but for some reason we don't seem to be able to get them in front of a camera where people are going to watch and have them talk like they have sense to each other.
I think that I think people are starting to already be afraid to speak out, and I think that that's one of the scariest things that's happening in our time.
And
You know,
that's
people before it even happens are like afraid to speak out. Like I'm traveling to London and my wife was like, "Do you have anything on your social media that's like against the president?" And I was like, "Are we there already? We're there. They're going to check my phone and maybe not let me back in if I have some shit that says, Trump shit his pants or whatever, which he does every day, by the way, your
yeah,
leader in
yeah.
chief. You know what I mean? Like and I'm a loudmouth. I mean, they're gonna have to drag me kicking and screaming. They can all go fuck themselves. In the words of the great Dean Johnson in his hit song, "Fuck you, fuck you."
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. I'm not going down without a fight. Fuck them.
I am gonna, when we air this, and I'm gonna be introducing you to a lot of people who will be pleased to find you.
Fantastic.
I'm going to be linking at the very least to your webpage on our webpage when we air this on Halloween so that people
Oh,
can
that's
go
that's
directly
awesome.
from us to you and find you and all your stuff. I didn't want to take up more than an hour or so of your time,
Oh
but
yeah, do you want to ask me more horror-filled questions? I'm sorry, we
I,
just we just got into politics of all things. So,
I,
you know,
I do want to know.
scariest thing of all. Yeah.
Let's talk about what's your best? What's your favorite horror film? What scared you and you loved it the most?
I gotta say, John Carpenter's Halloween still scares the living shit out of me. And
Uh,
there's not even that many deaths in it, but it is so fucking scary with that mask that was wasn't it Captain Kirk? It was a Captain Kirk mask
it was
that they
Captain
call
Kirk.
the
Yep.
eyeballs out of.
Yep.
And there's something about that movie, the music, thank you again, John Carpenter. Like Jamie Lee Curtis is just adorable. She said that she wasn't getting cast anywhere because she was so lanky. Everybody thought she was super ugly, which is so crazy, right? PJ Souls again, back to PJ Souls. I just like the terror of it. is incredible to me. Like it still scares the living shit out of me. And of course, The Shining is a masterpiece. The Shining bumps me out because Shelley Duvall was treated so badly on that film. And so I'll probably still say Halloween. And for social justice through horror, I think Get Out is an exceptional film. Because it really shows the injustice of generational racism
Yeah.
in the North, which everybody's like, the North, we were fine. And I think that Jordan Peele is the perfect person to tell that story, and the time it came out was the perfect time for it to come out. I saw it in Brooklyn right when it came out, and it was such a powerful experience to be in that theater with everybody, with a very multicultural Brooklyn audience who knew right away this guy was in trouble. Like just knew right away. And at the end, when the cop car comes up, we all just thought he was going to get shot, and then have it be his friend. The sigh of relief. It was almost like when you see a Spielberg film or something, and he makes everybody laugh and cry and sigh and scream exactly when he wants. Like Jordan Peele had that kind of control with that film, and it was really an amazing thing. So
It's it's probably going to go down over top of, boy, my words are bad today. Sometimes I don't have enough coffee to keep my mouth working. It's when they talk about it, they're not going to be talking about Saw in 10 years.
yeah, yeah. Saw, here's the thing about Saw. Really, you didn't check his pulse enough. You're going to saw your own fucking foot off before you make sure that the guy in the middle is not still alive. Honestly, come on. It's a pretty big plot hole. Come on. But it made a
It's
bajillion dollars, so who cares? I'm
as
always
big
happy. I'm
as
always
big
happy for filmmakers that make a lot of money. So what'd you say?
yeah, as big as it is now, as big as it is, as huge as it is, it's when they start talking about, the films that actually did something. Get Out's going to be there, and Saw's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be somewhere down the list, and Human Centipede won't even be. I hate to say it won't be remembered. It's a film. The filmmakers who made it put a lot into it. Every film gets to where it gets to because somebody loves it, but it's not
Exactly
going to
right.
be. It's not going to be there with Get Out. It's just not.
No. And I mean, think about Halloween. For Halloween to still scare me, you know,
It's funny
it's
because
a
one of
pretty
my
incredible thing. And you know that John Carpenter, he lived in the South. He was from the North, but he moved to the South. And he saw, and the Mike Myers monster is based on racism. For him, that was his allegory, was like a white face bringing terror to people, because he met, some people who went to high school with some people that would like just throw random firecrackers and shoot into black people's houses because of racism and murderous racism or whatever.
for no
Not
reason.
not or whatever, murderous racism.
Yeah,
But the Mike Myers character came from that horribleness that humans can do for no reason, like the violence that humans can do without warning, for no reason.
we can't explain it. We don't know where it comes from, but we have it, and we're going to give it to you. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean, the way The Shining was shot was really, I think, next level, of course. And I looked like that kid when I was a little kid. Like I had that bowl haircut and shit,
yeah.
and I had a fucking big wheel, and so I was like, that scared the shit out of me. Rosemary's Baby was scary enough. I saw it when I was young enough where I probably was too young to see it, and I didn't really even understand what was going on until later, but that was still pretty scary. Exorcist and stuff never really scared me. I don't really believe in heaven and hell. The Omen, I think, was great, but I don't really believe in heaven or hell, so I don't know. What about you?
Um,
What's your favorite horror movie?
One of my all-time favorites is another John Carpenter movie, The Fog.
Oh, The Fog is great.
It's fantastic, and
Bridget Bardot. Wow. Yeah.
it's got one goal, and that is just to scare you and to tell a halfway decent story that I mean, it evokes Edgar Allan Poe at every turn.
I
Uh,
love the ghost pirate aspect. I'm like, yeah, it's
yep,
actually scary, and we're talking about ghost pirates. That is amazing.
it's
Yeah.
it's it's a fantastic film, and I really love it. And I met Adrienne Barbeau at TerraCon, as a matter
Sorry,
of
I
fact.
did Adrian Barbeau. Pardon me, everyone.
You
Yeah.
you you wouldn't believe Adrienne Barbeau. Adrienne Barbeau is about 4 feet 3 inches tall.
I'm not surprised by that. I've had a crush on her for such a long time, and she's also great in Creep Show. Remember Creep Show? She
Yep.
was great in Creep Show.
I actually watched Carnival because she was in it and loved every minute of Carnival. But she was just the most open person you ever met. I looked up and she was there at the table 60 feet away from me, and it was Sunday and there was nobody else there. It was the last day of the show, and she just stood up and did this, put her arms out.
Awesome.
And my wife and I went over and hugged her and hung out with her for like 20 minutes. She was so nice. If you get the
She's
chance
one of
to
my
meet her,
earliest
you're gonna love
crushes. Earliest crushes in life, her
it.
and possibly Tim Curry.
Um, my other favorites kind of fall into a lot of classic horror. The original Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. Those transitions,
Yep.
everybody talks about the like man to wolf transitions, and sometimes you just need a good cross dissolve, man. I mean, that was really effective, and you really felt sorry for him. American Werewolf in London, I love that movie.
Howling. Howling's one of
Oh,
my
The Howling is
favorites.
great.
Howling
Yeah.
is a nearly perfect horror film.
Yeah, The Howling is great. Yeah. What about
And
The Thing? I love The Thing.
oh, the thing is so good. It is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how many times you watch the thing; it's still going to unsettle you.
Yeah, I like to watch it in the winter when it's snowy out because then it's you're part of it.
And
Yeah.
then the old Hammer films, particularly the Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing films.
Yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
gotta, I mean, yeah. Bela Lugosi was great, but he might be my favorite Dracula. And also
except
there was a lot of good lesbian action in those movies too.
there
Like,
was a lot, and
like
there's this
Daughters of the Dust, I want to say. It's been a little while. I have to watch those movies again, but yeah.
Stephen King and Dan's Macabre, which is his earliest take on the whole horror industry. He sits there and says, "Okay, here's the vampire. Here's the trick. He's he doesn't talk much. He's tall. He's handsome. He's going to," and King literally says this, he's going to subtract fluid from you instead of adding it to you.
I never thought about it that
Women
way. Yeah.
women love him because he's not threatening, and men love him because he kind of is.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, that's
Um,
really true.
and Christopher Lee is that, and so was Jonathan Frid in the old Dark Shadows stuff.
Oh yeah, Dark Shadows is great.
I
Yeah.
loved those. Oh wow! So
Fright Night, the original Fright Night, and even the remake of Fright Night wasn't bad, but the original Fright Night with Chris Sarandon was amazing.
it
Yep.
was.
Yep.
I have had the privilege of meeting both Chris and Roddy McDowall.
Really?
I met Roddy McDowall in real life, not at a convention or a show, and he was the most, gosh, I would have gone with him anywhere. I would have
Really?
done
He was like
anything
hypnotic that
for
way.
Roddy
A lot of
McDowall.
actors are like that. You just follow them. You can't help it.
He
Yep.
looked at you and smiled, and I don't care who you were, you belonged to him. It, that's just the way that it was. Um, and Chris was very, very open for an actor who's never, at least in the mainstream stream, stated his preferences, his sexuality. He was
Well, he
very
was
open.
married to Susan Sarandon, right? But I wonder if I don't I mean, I feel like a lot of people are in that in between, but they just, it's easier to be like I'm straight as opposed to I'm everything.
Well,
You know what I mean?
he didn't come out or say either way, but he loved talking about Roddy and about how um, Roddy would throw these parties, and he'd have two parties in a week, and the first would be for all the straights,
Uh-huh.
and the second would be for everybody who wanted to come. Uh,
Yeah.
and the way he talked about it gave me the impression, oh, you're saying hello in a way that somebody else wouldn't necessarily understand. Cool. That's very cool. Thank you. But yeah, it was neat meeting Chris. And I actually we like to take presents to people when we go to conventions. So Chris got a Nightmare Before Christmas watch that we
Oh,
filled
fantastic.
just for him. Alan Tudyk, when we met him, got a copy. Hey, do I have it here? I don't have it here. Rats. A little Tim Curry It bobblehead because he's a big fan.
Oh, that's
Thought it
fantastic.
was so cool. And yeah, it's honestly, find me a horror movie I haven't seen that I'm not going to love watching. Find me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any horror movies that I absolutely hate. Lady Frankenstein was a terrible, terrible thing. I was really rooting for it, and it was just so bad. Bride, the original Bride of Frankenstein is great, but the bride doesn't show up until like the last 10 minutes. I'm like, what the hell, man? You know? So I'm trying to think of like horror movies that I just really didn't like. I mean, I find some of the torture porn like just gross and boring. You know what I mean?
I have a hard time with the Roman Polanski film,
Yeah.
The Fearless Vampire Killers, or pardon me, but your teeth are in my neck. Everything in that film I should really love, but
Well, tone matters a lot, and Polanski, you know,
yeah,
tone matters a lot, So, I mean, and you can tell a director's proclivities like through their movies. Like, Hitchcock, again, an incredible filmmaker. Psycho, he loved blondes and could never sleep with them, and so the knife going in is his impotence.
yeah.
It's like, you can really tell which way what the director really feels about stuff, like Brian De Palma, is very much a voyeur. You could see that in all of his movies, and so yeah, it's an interesting thing that you put it out there even if you don't think you're putting it out there. So
And of all things, what's the weirdest horror movie you're into? What's the one that you it's either a guilty pleasure or it's just so far out of what you would usually enjoy and you don't know why you like it.
that's a good question. I mean, I like a lot of those 50s giant bug movies like Day of the Triffids and Tarantula. I actually stole a shot from Tarantula for Dragzilla. So Tarantula has this shot where, and it's not a good movie, but I fucking love it anyway. But it's like there's a shot, the camera's back here, and it's just like fur and then fangs, right? And then it
Right?
slowly comes down, and there's like a tiny woman here, like screaming, ah! And it's obvious that this is just like up on a ladder. And like they're using forced perspective or whatever. And so I stole that shot, except for with boobs. So in Dragzilla, the camera's here, Dragzilla's here, there's just tits, and then a couple of people screaming right here, like, ah! And so anything I watch, even if it's bad, I usually incorporate it into something. You can always like find something where you're like, oh, this whole movie is garbage, but that one shot is amazing. You
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Well, you've got all the MST3K schlock. I mean, you've got
Yeah, thank you. I
Madhouse, The
appreciate
Hands of
that.
Fate. You've got oh gosh, it's just completely left me. Night of the Lepus.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
All of those that are guilty pleasures that you love to hate. I think probably my favorite, just weird, just why do I like this horror film? I asked you this question and I can't answer it. Who's this, by the way, next to you? Who's
Oh, this is Stella. It's
Hi,
my dog
Stella.
Stella. How you doing, Stella? How you doing? Yeah,
Hi,
yeah, yeah.
Stella.
Oh, no, yeah,
Oh,
thank you
you're a
for
good-looking
rubbing my
girl.
nose. Yeah, she's amazing. We got her from the pound, and she's a rescue, and we thought she was going to be a pit bull, and then she's full grown. She stopped growing at 30 pounds, so we don't know what
Oh,
she is. We love you
you-
anyway. We
she's
love you
doing
anyway.
a good job of watching the camera for you.
Yeah, she
Good
is.
job of looking after you.
She loves to be involved. She's the boss. Yeah.
So yeah, gosh,
So other horror movies that I love, of course, are the comedies like Shaun of the Dead, I think was one of the best films that was made ever, because it's an
absolutely.
homage to zombie movies, we're coming to get you, Barbara. There's so many lines in there that are just
Mhm.
hilarious. So okay, so a movie that I find was imperfect, but I loved anyway was Nope. Like Nope, again, back to Jordan Peele, like the first three quarters was a great movie, and the last quarter was like, did you run out of money? What happened when they finally show the monster? I'm like, that's the monster? So yeah, yeah. You can't win them all.
But I think probably nobody ever talks about it. Nobody ever talks about it, and maybe it's because it's not really a horror film. But I'll take it over Clive Barker's other movies 100 times. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Nightbreed.
Nightbreed.
Nightbreed is about so many things besides horror, and when you watch it, it's like watching the Tolkien films. You can infer, even though Barker hasn't written it, that there's so much more lore, there's so much backstory to this movie that you really do get immersed in it. And even though there are bits of it that are, let's just say, less than perfect or haven't aged well, when you get right down to it, it's like the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath by H.P. Lovecraft. It's
Mhm.
a world that doesn't that's based in horror, things that you're not supposed to be comfortable with, that you get into and you feel at home in. And I love
Mhm.
it so much. It's one of my very favorite films.
Oh, I have a real answer to your question of the horror movie that I don't like. The Mist. Have you seen The Mist? That Stephen King film. You make it all the way through the film and then everybody dies. And I'm like, dude. And then I'm like, I think Stephen King actually wanted to kill his family at one point because between The Shining and The Mist, I'm worried about your mental health.
Some Stephen King films are subtle. Some
Yes.
Stephen King films are not.
I mean, he didn't make the film. It's not his fault. But like the ending was such a disappointment. You think the guy's going to survive with the family? No, shoot him in the head. Okay, great.
I,
It's just like, it's kind of like a Twilight Zone-y ending, but you really wanted someone to live. You wanted some kind of not that dark an ending. And it is horrible and effective, but the spiders eating his wife and stuff, it's just like, dude, I did not need to live through this. I'm cool.
you
Yeah.
you get invested, and then the protagonist loses for no reason.
Yes,
I sup
exactly.
I
Yeah.
suppose that's life, and I might could have accepted it if the director hadn't discovered that the subtexts were more interested and spent most of the film filming the subtext.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
haven't
well
seen The
put.
Mist, everybody go out and watch it once. You'll get what
Yeah.
I'm talking
Go
about.
watch it once and then tell me how mad you are afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, video games are coming up with a lot. As the industry evolves, there's a lot of good, scary stuff. I spent probably 100 hours on Until Dawn, if you're familiar with that.
Ooh, fun. No, I've only done like the Resident Evil type games and yeah.
If you have the Until Dawn movie is not very good, but if you have an opportunity to plug in a PlayStation and play Until Dawn, it is chiefly a an interactive movie. You get to make a few decisions throughout the course of the gameplay, but it's not like you're controlling a person through the whole film. It is a film in the form of a video game, and it's got some interesting actors, including Hayden Panettiere and Remy Malek in it.
Oh, cool. I love Remy Malek.
It's um it's a worthy horror story. It really is. I would recommend it to anybody who's a fan of horror. Just check that out.
Love it. Maybe that's what I'll do. Yeah, I haven't figured out how I'm going to scare myself this year. I always try and pick something, to scare myself. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it this year,
You,
but
you,
I'm definitely going to see a movie in the theater. I just don't know which one. But go see Weapons too. Weapons is great. Weapons is like as good as an 80s more horror film. It's great. The way it's shot is great. The way it kind of sucks you in. Again, a new villain. It's not like a perfect movie, but it is amazing. And it has made like $100 million or something at this point. And it's very rare to have a horror movie like that in the theater. It feels like a good indie horror movie. The director did Barbarian before. And you'll love it. If you're a horror fan, you're gonna love that movie.
that's fantastic. Um, I'm going to cut what I'm saying now out of the radio interview and come back. This is me directing. Um, I'm just going to say, Lola Rocknrolla, thank you so much for your time and for spending Halloween with us on tape. And I want everybody listening to go to the Phantom Star, to radiophantomstar.net, and find the link that I'm placing there for Halloween to Lola's page so that you can explore her catalog and get to know this amazing artist.
I just want to thank you so much. I think that radio, especially right now, is very important, and your voice is very important. And everybody for Halloween, go do something safe that scares you. Go see a movie in the theater, listen to this radio broadcast. Just really enjoy what I think is the best holiday in the world, where we get to dress up like monsters and scare each other to bits. I love it. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Thank you so much. Now that we've done that, and honestly, you've been super generous. I think the email that I have for you is good, and I will send you info as it comes up about the show and what's going on. I know you won't be able to listen on Halloween because you're going to be engaged, but you're always welcome to tune in and catch us. The show streams 24/7. We're on live Friday nights from about 8 to 10,
Awesome.
unless the spirit moves us, and then we're on longer.
Well, and let me help the hype too. Send me, all the links to all your things and I'll continuously post to get people there. And I'll just be in New York. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing for Halloween, but I might be able to listen in. I mean, I would love to listen in. So, what else did I have to ask you? If there's anything that you feel like we didn't hit or something else that you want to redo, just call me and we'll redo it, once you get into the edit of it. And you're just wonderful. I'm so happy you're doing what you're doing, and I'll talk to you anytime. You're incredible.
That's
So.
fantastic. Thank you so much. And let's see how it goes. I wouldn't mind doing another session for 2026. We'll see. I might
And
even go soon. We could do, you want to do second Halloween with us?
I would love to do second Halloween with you.
Let me reach
Yeah,
out to
anything
you.
you want, I'm in. So second Halloween, which is Valentine's Day, right?
Exactly. Let me reach
Yeah, we
out to
could we
you.
could piece together all the films that have people rip hearts out of chests.
My Bloody Valentine. Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, I might go watch that right now. I forgot about that movie. It's
That's
good.
there's also Suspiria.
Oh
Suspiria.
yeah, of course. Yeah, Suspiria
That's
was why Hitchcock made Psycho, right? Because Suspiria did so well.
I
Am I thinking of the right? I think was it Suspiria? I think it was. I can't remember.
it's got I mean the cutting in the shower scene and that scene where the knife pierces the heart.
Right,
Definitely one
right.
of them came from the other. I'm not saying which, but one came
think
from the
I
other.
think Hitchcock specifically because he made North by Northwest before that, and it was like this big budget thing, and I think it did okay, but it wasn't like a huge profit, and so he wanted to just he saw I think it was Suspiria, and he was like, I want to make a movie like that, and then nobody would fund it, and he had to use his own money and his TV crew, and then he made so much money that he got to buy back a bunch of his films that the studio owned,
Oh wow.
so. Yeah, the budget was like under $1 million for Psycho, and it, was his biggest film. So, yeah.
It's Suspiria proves a couple of things. One is that Argento was ahead of his time. Even when he wasn't good, he was ahead of his time.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, and that you can do an awful lot with less, awful lot more with less than you can with more.
Yeah, I mean, look at like Blair Witch was what, 7 grand or something. So I love that Chris Rock joke. What'd you do with the other 5 grand? Because it just looked like garbage. But so, you can use it to your advantage. I mean, all the biggest directors, most of them started in horror. Yeah, a lot of them with Roger Corman, because you learn what you're doing and you get buzz behind what you're doing, and then you can make something else for more money next time. So yeah.
I have absolutely adored talking to you, and I cannot wait to talk with you again whenever it's going to be convenient and easy for us both to get up together. So, thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you again so much. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed myself.
You
Yeah.
guys enjoy the rest of the day. Have a great fall. It must be about to get very pretty where you are.
It's gorgeous. I'm going to take the drone out today and see what I can see. So, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye
All
bye.
right.